Tom had everything money could buy, but he feared no one actually loved him for who he was. So he staged a horrific accident and pretended to lose his memory to see who would stay by his side. What he discovered didn't just break his heart, it forced him to face a truth he wasn't prepared for. From the glass walls of his penthouse, the city looked like a map of other people's lives. Tiny lights, small fires burning in apartments where someone loved and someone else did not. Tom King moved through that space like a man in a museum, admiring objects that could never answer back. The marble counters, the bespoke furniture, the paintings that had cost more than most families earn in a lifetime. They did not lean in to listen. They did not ask about the days he woke up hollow. "Does true love still exist?" he whispered into the quiet of a room built to impress. The question sank into the expensive carpet the way a stone sinks into deep water. There was no echo. There was only the memory of polished laughter around tables, kisses that tasted of obligation, and a steady parade of faces that treated him like a resource, not a person. He had tried everything people like him were supposed to buy to fix loneliness. The parties, the larger-than-life gifts. Each encounter left the same aftertaste, someone calculating, someone trying to read what he could give them next. He had started to believe that his status was a skin people leaned against to feel warmer. Remove the skin, and the warmth would be gone. Marcus sat in the leather chair opposite him, the steady sort of man who handled Tom's contracts and trusts. Marcus's face was more accustomed to dealing with implications than with confessions. He had sat through Tom's loneliness before and offered procedural fixes. This was different. "I'm going to see what happens if I disappear from the equation," Tom said. "I want to know if somebody would care for me without knowing what I own." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Tom, this has legal and ethical lines that run like barbed wire. You want to fake memory loss? To see people see you vulnerable and unmoored?" "I'm asking you to be on my side," Tom said with a childlike desperation. "I want to know who would sit with me if I had nothing but a name forgotten by the world." The arrangements hummed like a lower register of electricity. The staged accident was small and swift. A night at his country house, a fall, a hospital room with bright lights. He exited the hospital with a diagnosis everyone accepted: temporary memory disruption. He did not want instructions. He wanted to be a person without his name breaking the ice for him. He moved to a branch tucked into an old building downtown. If there was an ordinary measure of someone's soul, this building would hold it. He sat in the lobby, his eyes mapping the staff. Rebecca was the senior teller with a clipped laugh. Cynthia had the quick, restless energy of a hawk. Mr. Henderson, the operations manager, moved with a certain gentleness. Samuel, the cleaner, pushed his cart with a kind of steady dignity. And then there was Elena. She came to work like she came to everything in her life, prepared and precise. She was a single mother of a 7-year-old, Elise. Elena had trained as an accountant, but for now she took a teller's position because life required steady pay. Tom noticed her first because she laughed with an old woman who had miscounted bills. She walked toward him the moment she saw him sitting uncertainly. She did not look at his clothes, she looked at his face. "Are you all right?" she asked. Tom said, "I don't remember much." Elena's eyes stayed on him. She offered him a bottle of water. "Sit, and I'll bring you a chair." Tom stayed on the bench for days. He watched Elena deal with a problem no one else noticed, a discrepancy in a customer's ledger. She restored a small piece that meant more than the hours in her paycheck. Not everyone was kind. Rebecca and Cynthia traded sharp comments about daytime drama in a tone that suggested entertainment in other people's misfortune. Tom saw both halves of the world. Some used another's vulnerability to step over a line, others used it to lean in. He watched a woman, Jessica, hover near his bench. Once she moved a pen closer to his hand while pretending to retidy a ledger. Tom felt his pulse pace up, a thrill that tasted like shame. Marcus sat 2 blocks away in a diner, texting updates. Samuel, the cleaner, had offered the man in the threadbare jacket a sweater. When Tom heard that, he felt something in his chest untangle. But the longer he watched, the more the lines blurred. In hiding behind an experiment, he had begun to sever threads of trust. One afternoon, a young man came in, shaking with terror over a fee dispute. Cynthia made a face of impatience. Elena leaned forward. "Tell me what happened," she said. She found a way to gently reroute the fee. The man's shoulders steadied. Tom wrote the word dignity in his notes. But the experiment dragged darker shadows. He saw a plain envelope appear in a back drawer. Jessica closed the drawer with a hand that lingered. Tom felt a sickening flip in his stomach. He was the one who had arranged the scene. He had wanted to see the worst in people, but he had not anticipated being unarmed by Elena's decency. On his last morning, Tom watched as Elena settled a dispute for an elderly neighbor. In her laugh, Tom realized the experiment had a cost. He had not intended to make Elena a laboratory animal. He approached the counter. Elena looked up. "You're back," she said simply. Tom's voice came out raw. "I need to talk. I lied. I've been pretending. This was an experiment. I'm sorry." Her face did not contort in wrath. It contracted in hurt. "You used people," she said finally. "You used me. Hearts aren't specimens, Tom. They're people." There was a hush. Mr. Henderson stepped out of his office.
Samuel stood in the doorway. "You can't undo using trust," Elena said. "If you're sincere, you show it by how you pick up the pieces." Tom left the branch feeling the weight of lead. He told Marcus he was ready to stop hiding. He organized a meeting in a small community room. He did not offer corporate framing. He said, "I lied. I used you as subjects. I will answer for that." He revealed Jessica's theft. The room's atmosphere shifted. Samuel stood up. "We have to know why." Jessica confessed her mother was sick and the bills were piling up. Tom refused to let punishment be the only story. He supported a plan of restitution paired with counseling and hardship funds. The personal wounds remained. Elena took a week off to sort her feelings. Tom tried to respect her space. He did not make grand gestures. He changed policies. He created a compassion flag for accounts and a community fund for emergencies. Months later, Elena was offered a role as an accountant for a community initiative. She accepted on one condition. It must be a sustained, accountable effort, not a PR stunt. It was a moment of professional redemption. Tom requested a private meeting in Mr. Henderson's small office. "I made a cowardly choice," he said. "I set people up as answers." Elena looked at him. "Do not put me on a pedestal, and do not expect me to be your sign of redemption. If you want to change, you have to keep doing it when no one is watching." "I will," he said. Time passed unceremoniously. The bank's culture shifted. Samuel's lunchtime outreach grew. Elena's new role helped people stabilize before crises hit. Tom's private life softened. He began to volunteer at the community center, listening instead of directing. One evening, Elena invited him to see Elise at a school play. Tom sat in the back, watching a child sing about planets. He felt, with a piercing clarity, that love is quieter and steadier than he ever knew. He did not get the clean answer he once wanted. He found a harder, truer one. Human hearts are complicated. They can be selfish and noble in the same breath. You cannot decree forgiveness. You can only invite it by acts that are honest and sustained. The heartbreaking result of the test was this. In seeking to protect himself from being used, he had used others. He had robbed them of the right to decide who they wanted to be for him. That knowledge guided him now, a steady, stern friend. If you have ever been treated as a means to an end, remember that your dignity matters. Trust is not a thing to be gambled with. If this story touched you, share a moment in the comments when someone showed you unearned kindness.